Hi guys, so today we are talking all about the vein test. So if you don't know what the vein test is, it is a test for the skin undertone to understand if you are cool or warm. So the idea is that if you look at your veins and they are green, then you have a warm skin undertone, and if they are blue, then you have a cool skin undertone. So let's talk about if this is actually legitimate and what's going on with it. So if you are new here, I will leave some videos for you down below. There are some videos on my color analysis system called Artistic License, and I also offer color consults through my website, and I will leave a link to those down below as well. And if you are old here, I'm actually curious to know how you think this video will go and if you think that I will agree or disagree. So if you could pause this video and comment down below and let me know what you think my opinion will be, I would be curious to know. And also let me know how mean you think I'll be in this video. Alright, let's move on. So the reasoning behind the vein test is pretty simple. Your veins are blue because of science, because of how the light reflects off of your veins or whatever. Your veins are always going to be blue, and then if your skin is a cool brown or a cool beige, when that skin lays over the blue veins stay blue because your skin is cool. Because your skin is cool, it has more blue in it, so your veins stay cool, so they stay blue. And if your skin is a warm brown or a warm beige, then when that pigment will go over your blue veins, it's going to make them green because your warm pigment has more yellow in it, and yellow and blue makes green. So that's the reasoning behind it. So it's actually pretty sound reasoning. And there is a circumstance under which the vein test actually works. The vein test gets a ton of hate online and a ton of stigma, and I'll talk about that stigma and why I think it exists later. But there is one circumstance under which it works, and that is if you have green veins. If you have green veins, then your undertone is most likely warm, like a 99% chance type of a thing. Of course, there are always exceptions. You could have a weird you're in the 0.01% of people who have a weird patch of yellow on both of your wrists, and then your veins are green, and then everything else is cool. You know, I guess that could happen, but realistically, it probably does not happen. And if your veins are green, then you are warm. So that's when it works. It does not work whatsoever if your veins are blue. Now let's talk about that, and that's a part of why it can kind of get a lot of stigma and just a lot of issues coming up with this vein test situation. So if your veins are blue, it doesn't work. You could very well be warm if your veins are blue. It literally doesn't mean anything if your veins are blue. So the reason why it doesn't mean anything is because of this lighter skin here. So let's say you're warm, and you're warm everywhere, right? But then here, you don't have any of that warm pigment. So it's cool here. You don't have any warm pigment here because some people's wrists are much lighter than the rest of their body. So you could very well be warm and have blue veins. But what cannot happen is you cannot be cool and have green veins, right? So you can be warm and have blue veins, but you cannot be cool and have green veins. That probably will not happen. Again, there are always exceptions, but that probably will not happen. So if your veins are blue, you could still be warm. So that's the issue because of the lighter skin here. And for more information on this whole lighter skin thing, I do have a video that I would highly, highly recommend you guys watch if you haven't already. It's called The Lightest Skin Tones, and I'll leave a link to that down below. The second situation where it doesn't work is a situation where the vein test actually does work. It's the color analysts or yourself or whatever the case may be, you've actually been mistyped. So if your veins are warm, so if your veins are green, you are warm, right? But you are being mistyped as cool by all kinds of people, by yourself. It doesn't matter, for this specific reason, and that is that you might be warm and delicate. So if you are warm and delicate, you do not look good in orange, you don't look good in yellow, and you might find that you actually look better in royal blues and placid blues and cool and delicate colors like a cool summer. You might be mistyped as a cool summer when you're warm and delicate. Cate Blanchett is warm and delicate, and she was mistyped by almost everyone as a, what was it, like a cool summer? Basically a cool undertone. She's not a cool undertone. I have a whole video on this topic, how warm and delicate gets mistyped as cool, and it's called Golden Overtones with Cool Undertones. That's not a thing. So in that circumstance, those warm people who are being mistyped as cool, they are actually going to be told, listen, your veins are green, but you're cool. So the vein test is just complete garbage. It's actually not true. Those people are actually warm, they're just not warm and radiant. They're warm and delicate. And that's a part of why the stigma exists, is actually because of this mistyping. Why are there mistypings? Because the seasonal approach is completely broken. It only has 2 undertones when there are actually 4 undertones, when there are actually basically an infinite number of undertones, really. The skin undertone falls on a spectrum. So of course, if you have a choice, if you're warm and delicate and your only 2 options are cool or warm, then I would do the same exact thing. I would tell warm and delicate, you know what, you're better off wearing royal blue and placid blue than you are yellow and orange, so I guess you're cool. But really that's not the best match at all. They're just muted, they're delicate, but they're still warm, and that's why they have those green veins, or they could have those green veins. So a friend of mine is actually warm and delicate, and they do have green veins. Another reason why there is so much misunderstanding around the vein test is also because there is a misunderstanding about the lightest skin tones. We all seem to want to believe in the color analysis community and in general that the skin undertone doesn't change as we tan, but there is a specific case that's very, very relevant to the vein test that I already touched on, and that case is the lightest skin tones. So again, the lightest skin tones, the lightest of the light, are going to be cool and radiant. And that is because of the blue veins and capillaries showing through their skin and no pigment at all to balance those veins and capillaries. And then as they gain their own pigment, they could very well become warm. We actually don't know if they're warm or cool, if they're really that light. You know, as light as Anne Hathaway, as light as Nicole Kidman. Again, I have a video on this, but that's very related to this because this skin can be really quite light. And if you're warm and light, imagine like if you're like Cate Blanchett, you could very well have blue veins. But that's because you don't have enough pigment here to cover your blue veins, right? It's not because your pigment everywhere else isn't warm. So anyway, that's the situation with the vein test. It can work under certain circumstances. The reasoning behind it is completely sound. It's completely sound. The reasoning behind it is great. It makes sense. It's great. It could totally work for you if you have green veins, you're probably warm. But again, if you have blue veins, it means literally nothing. Nothing for you. You're back to square one. You have no idea what's going on if you have blue veins. The test has told you nothing. Leave a comment, leave some discussion down below, and I will leave a link to my color consults down below. And thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.